Okay, let's see what we got going here. Let's get the chair right. There we go. And questions, answers. vMix social. Tim is checking in. Did I see his email earlier? No, I didn't. I'll look. Thanks to COVID, the streaming business is picking up. Yeah, you know, they got some pretty exclusive cemeteries over here. People are just dying to get in. Didn't get the Zoom job he worked on. Sorry about that. But it was a good exercise in kind of getting ready. Let's put this laptop out of the way. That's going to make too much light. There we go. That's better. Jim's here. Does Tom have a guess? I have a guess. Oh, guest. No, don't have a guest today. Why am I so dim? We need more light in here. Today you're going to start on Showtime. No, but I got caught on the phone. You know how that is. It's crowded in here. Yeah. Let's see if we can get a little light here. What does that do? Oops, that didn't work. Let's try again. Maybe that'll work a little bit. Yeah, a little bright. That's okay. We'll do a little more light here. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm pale. Yeah, you know, I've lost my tan. I think this is actually, I don't look quite that gray. Let's see if we can't get the bird dog cranked up just a little bit on color. There. Does that help any? Yeah, that's a little better. A little better. Let's go one more. Did that work? That might be a little too much. Is that my real color? Yeah, it might be. Might be. Let's go one step that way. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. We are using the BirdDog P100 today, and it is Marie's here. Hello, Marie. It's good to see you. Good to hear you. Good to see your text, I guess that's what it is. We're using the BirdDog P100, and it is coming to us over NDI, which is its, kind of its preferred method, full NDI. And it's coming over at 1080p 5994. And we've upped the production to 5994 just to play with it a little bit and see if this system can support double the frame rate and live stream and record and all that other good stuff. So there you go. Marie says, stupid question. Are you guys going to be hit by the hurricane that's going on now? Well, I am not sure. It's supposed to hit Nicaragua, which is in Central America, actually south of Mexico. But one of the models show that it hits Nicaragua and it loops back around and comes back out in the Gulf of Mexico and comes up our way. But they're not allowed to because hurricane season ended October 31st, I think. So there are no hurricanes allowed up here because the hurricane season is over. Can't hunt hurricanes anymore. Yeah, Tim, I'm canceling my subscription to the Hurricane of the Month Club. Yeah, they haven't really been bad here in my town. I mean, the Hurricane Sally knocked over a lot of trees and we were without power for 5 days, but it wasn't catastrophic. There weren't dozens and dozens of people killed. We were inconvenienced, but we bounced back, I thought, pretty quickly. We will bounce back more quickly from the hurricane than we will from the election. With 2020 being as it is, I'm pretty sure nothing is as normal. Yeah, isn't that funny how a year can just get a reputation like that? Yup. Oh, well. Oh, well. Yeah, I'm trying out, let's see if we can make this one work. I'm trying, this is the post show, but let's just pop it in. I've been meaning to do this for a while and thought, well, let's try it today because today is a little different. So there we go. There's Marie. Let's see. Can we make that text a little bit larger? Let's see if we can go in there and make that just a little bit. There we go. Now we'll have to see how that does with other. So let's try this one from Marie. This is a little bit longer. Yeah, that one fit okay. So that's not bad. So can we send that one? There we go. All right. Actually, Tim, I do have an orange makeup that I use. It's sort of an honorary thing. You have to have a license to get it. Okay, so there we go. So we'll play with that a little bit in the post show. And see how it goes, see how it bodes. Let's go back to the screen for just a second. That's good. That's great. I wish we could make this chat thing so that you could post links if you wanted to. But for right now, it's just not working out that way. All right. Well, we've got just another few minutes. Today we're going to talk about COVID. Not like it's a new idea, not like it's a new subject, but with the a little bit of uncertainty, but it looks like we're going to end up with Joe Biden as president here in the U.S., and I think that's going to change the attitude towards openness, which I think is going to really provide a great opportunity for folks that do live streaming, both as a business and as a hobby and as a ministry. So I think there'll be a lot of opportunities there. Tommy hears traffic. Well, it could be. Let me make sure I've got my my filter on. They ought to make a diesel truck filter. But this is the NS1 stereo filter. Yeah, it's on about 50%, so that should knock out most everything, except the big diesel trucks. Yep. The most of Europe is waiting with holded breath for the result. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm not terribly optimistic. As a Trump supporter, I'm not terribly optimistic, but you know, that's what elections are. You elect the person that gets the right. I was going to say gets the most votes, but it doesn't really work exactly that way here in the U.S. But it's close. But the history about both sides stocking up on weapons is scary. Yeah, it might be, but you know, in the U.S. we've got a long history of not trusting the government, and sometimes that ends up being a mess. But I think there are other times when we would find that you know, it's probably a pretty good idea. So we'll see. We will see. The proof is in the pudding. But the founders of the U.S. decided that people should have the right to keep and bear arms, both for their own personal use as well as for in militias. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be a thing. Not really sure. You know, our little area down here in southern Alabama was pretty quiet. I don't anticipate too much trouble. No matter what side you're on, you should respect the result. Well, there you go. All right. And Tim says title. Is that what it says? Title? T-I-T-L-E? Have I got something wrong in my title? I hope not. Yeah, that's the thing, Tommy, is that, you know, we'll have to wait and see the results if somebody's kind of messing around with the results. We don't want that. We don't want that. We want it to be fair and honest. And then we can deal with it. You know, elections have consequences. People win, people lose. If you're on the winning side, that's good. If you're on the losing side, then you just have to suck it up. Murray says, I'm not dissing on the right to bear arms. I'm against using violence because it didn't go the way you wanted or it isn't going fast enough. Well, I understand that. Yeah, there's a component here in the U.S. that is armed and probably dangerous, and I can't understand why the government powers to be won't address that. Hello, Rich. Rich is back from North Carolina. If you didn't see some of Rich's posts in the Streaming Idiot group, he has got a wireless camera that he has affixed to the helmet of a jet ski racer. And it is really nice work. I'll have to get Rich on the show to talk about that. But it really, really did a good job. And and so much so that I'd like to hear more from Rich, but I think, was it CBS that you're working with or collaborating with a little bit, and that they've picked up some of your video, the live video, so that's good. Tommy wants to know if I gave the landscaper the day off. Yeah, generally he's here on Wednesdays, but I haven't seen him today. Of course, he could fire up anytime. Tommy has hidden his liquid disinfectant equipment. Okay, well, that's good. I hope you have hidden it from your pastor as well. Okay, all right. Well, let's see. Just another few minutes here. And Marie says, please remember that here, Bernie and Kamala is not that right wing. We have the stuff they talk about. Yeah, it'll be an interesting discussion. For those of us that are kind of used to our freedoms, it's going to be hard to give them up. And we'll have to see how that works out. We'll have to see how that works out. All righty. Is my clock not working over there? This clock says 50 seconds. All right. Marie says, we are free. Yeah, that's what the frog said when they put him in the pot of cold water and gradually turned up the heat. He thought he could jump out when it got too hot, but he didn't notice it till he got cooked. But, all right, well, let's gear up for a show here, and let's talk about live streaming in a COVID world. So we will be right back with that after the official start of the show. There we go. All right. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. I'm so glad that you have joined me this afternoon as we talk about the live streaming in a COVID world. Not a new topic, but I thought I would sort of recap on that in light of the election here in the U.S. last night, where it looks like it's not a done deal yet, but it looks like President Donald Trump has been voted out, and what is his name? Joe Biden will be voted in, which I think could have a definite effect on how things work in the U.S. But before we get into that, we'll try not to get too far into the political part of it, but more talk about the live streaming part of it. Our setup today, and I don't have any kind of cool graphics like they do. Let me fix this chair. 1 second. Just don't go anywhere. There we go. That's better. Boy, I felt like I was just crouching down. The setup today, and we don't have any cool graphics like they do on the vMix Fun Time live show. We're on a single PC. It's built around a Intel i7. I think it's the 8700K processor. I think it's a 6-core. I should know that. 16 gigs of RAM, a solid state main drive, a solid state recording drive. It has the only capture card in it right now, I think, is a Blackmagic Decklink mini recorder 4K, but we're not using it today. The camera today is a BirdDog P100, and we've sort of cranked it up to 1080p 59.94, so just call it 60 frames a second. And we've cranked our vMix production up to 59.94. So you may notice that the movement is a little smoother. It looks a little bit more lifelike, a little less blurry. The difference between 30 frames a second essentially and 60 frames a second. It's great in sports, but even in a talk show format, it has a benefit. And it'd be interesting. I might try it on Sunday morning at church and see if 60 frames a second produces any beneficial effect, although I'm not sure I can adjust that camera. Anyway, don't want to get too far sidetracked. We are streaming to Facebook, the Streaming Idiots group, at 1080p 59.94. I think it is 4.5 megabits per second. And we're also streaming the same thing to YouTube. So that's 1080p 59.94 at 4.5 megabits per second. That gives me a total of 9 megabits per second, at least on the video side, and then maybe another, 256 for the audio, something like that. So call it, 9.5, 9.25. I tested my upload speed before I started the show, and you need to test your upload speed before every show because it changes from day to day. Heck, it changes from minute to minute. And my upload speed is 20, and I get a pretty consistent 20 upload here. It's pretty consistently 100 down, pretty consistently 20 up. Even after the hurricane, when we got the power back on, immediately the internet came on, and we got the same result. So I'm pretty excited about how resilient. And this is AT&T. I'm not sure if it's their UVerse plan. I don't have a TV attached to it. It's just internet. It's not phone or anything else. So anyway, 100 down, 20 up. We're using 9 let's just call it 9.5 of that 20. The good rule of thumb is that you want to leave yourself a lot of overhead. 50%, some people say 60%, some people say 40%, but right there in the middle, you don't want to use really more than half, because you're going to come into a situation where there's going to be just a temporarily a downward blip in your upload speed. And if you have enough headroom, it won't affect anything. But if you're kind of up in that, 2/3, 3/4 range, if I was using, maybe what would 3/4 be? Whatever the math would be, would be what, 12, 13, something like that, or doing up to 15. I might not have enough headroom for a blip. And so we would get dropped frames. And in your case, you would see some delay on the other end, some buffering. And nobody likes to see buffering. And if it happens a lot, if I'm watching a show and it buffers, I'll say, oh, I'll go watch this later, or I'll go watch something else. And maybe I'll come back later. Maybe I won't. We just don't really know. I probably won't, knowing me. So that's the setup today. Oh, and the mic is an Audio-Technica AT 897. It's a boom mic. It's just right up here out of the view. And I really like it because I don't like to wear a mic. And, on days like this where I'm just wearing a sweater, the mic has would have a very obtrusive fix. I don't like a mic in front of me. And so having this up here is nice. I have to do some extra soundproofing in this room so that it doesn't sound like an empty music hall. But between the moving blankets that I've got draped here and all the other gear that I've got angled at different places, in different ways. I've got some movable shutters here and there, and stacks of boxes there. Behind me, the brick wall drape has a moving blanket behind that, and there's another moving blanket here and two more over there. It really does a good job of breaking up the audio so that you don't get that room echo. That's what we're fighting against. So that's the setup. Now, the studio over there, again, is still, sorry, it's taken up with stacks of boxes and folding tables and PCs that are under construction. The PC side of our business, the live streaming PC building part of our business has kind of exploded in this COVID environment. And so we've kind of given up our studio in order to build PCs. So sorry about that. So you get me kind of back here in the control area. I've got two wonderful, I guess they're maybe 27-inch monitors. They're slightly curved, from a company called, is that AOC? And they seem to do a good job, kind of a gaming monitor. So that's the setup today. RJ says he's just joined. That's RJ at emeraldcoasttv.com. We're using the Bird Dog P100, the little brother of the P200. The P100 is a 10x optical zoom, full NDI camera, and it's PoE, so we basically have one cable to it, and that controls it, transports the video, and powers it. Really like that setup, and so we will continue to use it. But we kind of have the P100 as kind of a long-term studio camera test right now. It's not quite as flexible as the P200s. We were using those a while back, but it's also, almost half the price. I think the P200 is about $2,800, something like this, and this one's about $1,500. So you could have two of those for the price of one of the P200s. But the P200 is also a 30X, and has some other cool features to it too, and so that's why we have stacks of them over there that are going out to various venues. So let's get into today's show. The topic is live streaming in a COVID world. Now, it's not news to anybody that we're in a COVID world. We've been dealing with this nonsense since February or March. Different parts of the world, different parts of our community have been basically told to board up and go home and don't come back. Kids were sent home from school. I remember right up the road here is the local elementary school, and it has a live streaming studio in it that I had the honor of building for them. and got a call from the school superintendent, and there are 80 schools in the county here, and they wanted to use this school and its live streaming studio to make the announcement to all the folks here in our county that they were going to close schools. And so it was, in fact, I went in and I'm not a professional technical director by any means, but went in and TD'd that broadcast, and it was really neat to be a part of it, but also nice that there was that tool, that live streaming studio there that they could use that had the ability to get that message out to a wide community very, very quickly. And so that was really cool. And some of our clients in the past, and in fact recent clients, have been folks that work in emergency management, where they are tasked with getting information out to people in a very timely basis because of safety reasons. We know about that around here. We've been through 2 hurricanes in the last 2 months. Hurricane Sally, which did a ton of damage, and then Hurricane, was it Zeta that came through here, a week or so ago, and was just a lot of wind, but did a little bit of damage too. And apparently there's another hurricane down in Central America that might make its way up here at some point. So, being ready for emergencies and having the ability, of course, it requires power and it requires internet, but to be able to get that message out to the community is really, really valuable and vital in some ways. But others, and many, these are not my ideas. These are things that people have shared with me over the last 6 months or so, and when I remember who shared them with me, I will note you. And if I share your idea and I don't give you credit, send me a nasty note. I promise I'll give you credit next time. But there are lots of things now that people can't do now that you could do before. One of the first ones to come out, and we've heard it time and time again, is that people can't attend funerals of their loved ones. And Tim and other folks like Tim all across the country, and probably across the world, have been able to provide some small measure of comfort to folks that have lost a loved one by being able to go in and live stream the funeral service. So folks that that aren't allowed to travel. I mean, we don't all live in the same town anymore. So the folks that aren't allowed to travel, family members that can't travel, situations where only a certain number of people can be present live. That tends to be loosening up in some areas of the country, not in all. Not sure how it is overseas in other parts of the world, but it has been a restricted access, and so the ability to go in and live stream it, and very basically you can live stream it with a telephone. You can get your phone out, put it on your wireless plan, or if they've got Wi-Fi there, and stream it directly to Facebook, directly to YouTube, and people have done that. People that want to do a little bit more, I was involved in a funeral, I guess about maybe 2 months ago. The family had family members that could not attend, and it was going to be it was one of the members of our church, and they asked me to do the live stream for it. We live stream our Sunday services anyway, so it wasn't like we had to go in and set up something special. But many of our customers are funeral homes. We're building a system right now for a funeral home in Virginia that wants to expand their ability to do live streaming and do a better job of it. I am so impressed. I don't know if you guys have had experience with folks that work in the funeral industry, and I'm not sure if that's even what it's called, but the few times that I have been deeply impressed with the quality of individuals that are working in the funeral industry and how much they see it as a service to the families of the person that died, to provide this environment that provides some degree of comfort in a time of loss and mourning. And so to be able to have a high quality live stream that the family that can't be there can view, and then of course can be available, on a thumb drive or as an upload or something like that later for if folks want to be able to, recapture what somebody had said in a eulogy or something like that, a special moment that was part of the live stream. They can do that. So for those of you that are currently doing that as a service in your community, I commend you. And for those of you that are thinking about it, reach out to, there are two ways I think you can do it. One is to reach out to funeral homes and offer your services, maybe for a fee, maybe as a ministry. It's certainly up to you. The other is to reach out to churches and just, if they're not live streaming, if they have special occasions like that and they need some assistance, that you can provide that too. I will say that, one of the entry points, if you're thinking about getting into the live streaming business, one of the entry points is to do pro bono work so that you develop a portfolio and you develop valuable experience so that you don't want to promise more than you can deliver, and you certainly want to be able to deliver everything that you can promise. So you're going to have to work hard to make it work right. I would think, there's a little bit of a difference between live streaming an 8-year-old's baseball game to grandparents here and there, and comparing that to live streaming a funeral of a loved one. It's a higher bar in terms of what is required, what is expected, and so you want to be able to make sure that you can meet that bar. I didn't mean to go real long on that, but it's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And the whole concept that somebody's life has come to an end and we won't see them again here on this earth means that we want to pay special attention to that. And in the same way, weddings, we have a lot of folks that have not been able to have guests at their wedding. My nephew was going to get married, I think it was back in April, and they simply postponed the wedding. They thought that if they could postpone it long enough, that the world would kind of deal with this situation and open up and things would get back to normal. They postponed it from, again, I think it was April, and they postponed it to November. Well, here we are in November, and there's still some restrictions. I think they're in Florida, and so the restriction there, I think for churches, is maybe 25% of capacity, and it would be all sorts of other wedding type events, probably 25% of capacity and social distancing. So live streaming would probably be a good service at that point too. Back in April, they actually ended up getting married. But they're going to have the official service with all their friends and relatives sometime later this month. So if you are thinking about offering your services in that field, again, there are people called wedding planners and certainly caterers, and you can reach out to them, because what's going to happen is, a bride or the mother of the bride is going to be working with a wedding planner or working with a caterer or working with, some other consultant. And they're going to simply say, oh, do you know anybody that does live streaming? We want to live stream this, because that's becoming a more accepted thing. And if that wedding planner or that consultant or that caterer doesn't have somebody on their list, they just simply say, we don't know. But if they've got your name, they'll share your name, because they want to be able to serve their client. And so again, if you want to have continued referrals, you've got to do a really good job. Another area that has been tremendously impacted, and we know that NAB last spring and IBC a couple of months ago, both canceled or postponed, as it were. Big conventions with meetings and trade shows and things like that. People have attempted to do those virtually. Doesn't have quite the same bang. In fact, has nowhere close to the same bang, I don't think. I don't think that's going to be tremendously successful. I think the beauty of those events is the face-to-face contact. But we are seeing a lot of virtual conferences. I get calls every week from people that used to do in-person conferences, small conventions, group meetings, things like that, and they're now they're doing them all virtually, both from producers, that is the folks that have the content, the organizations that want to share that information, and from the actual media folks that are doing the production. Both those folks are calling us on a regular basis saying, what can we do? We thought it was just going to be temporary. Now we think we may need to do something more permanent. And what is happening with the media companies is they've realized, number one, that they're going to have to do something to survive. And so they've flipped over from in-person live events to the virtual live events. And of course, one of the reasons why they're calling me is because we represent vMix, and vMix has the wonderful 8-person calling capability in it that folks are being able to use all over the place. And it's perfectly suited, perfectly positioned for that. Martin knew somehow that was going to be an important feature, and now it's become a critical feature and has really moved vMix up to the front of the line, I think, in a lot of ways. The other thing that these production companies have realized is even when things get, quote unquote, back to normal, that virtual conferences, virtual productions will have a place. And in fact, it may be a hybrid. A lot of people have tried to do hybrids over the years with mixed success. Have a convention, but also have a kind of a live stream element to it where people that aren't able to attend can sign up. And I think, some folks have been able to make a go of that, others not so much. But now it's going to be, now it's the norm. Now it's the norm to have it virtually. So when it goes back to where we have open rules where we can travel freely and we can gather in groups of any size, other than what the fire marshal says. That's here in the U.S. Every building is rated for its capacity to have people safely. And so a lot of times there'll be a little sticker and a little plaque in there that indicates, you can have up to 350 people safely in this building. Not this building. It would be tightly packed. But when it does get back to the point where we're doing that, I think folks will definitely be making this virtual offering of whatever the content is. And I think live. I think there's the beauty of the live is that it's live. It is the first time you will ever get this information because it hasn't been available because it's just now live. So if you are thinking about, again, if you're thinking about doing something professionally in the live streaming world, definitely look at virtual conferencing. And any profession has an organization or a professional society for that profession that has members that are people in that profession. And those societies and organizations are always doing meetings, and they're doing annual meetings, and they're doing conventions, and they're doing all sorts of things like that. And so it used to be there was a blue book that was the directory of all the associations here in the United States. I think it's probably online right now. But you can get that list, and you can probably get that list locally. A good place to start would be your local Chamber of Commerce, because a lot of trade organizations are members of their chambers of commerce as well. I know before we leave this sort of virtual thing, both here in the U.S., both the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention were live streamed, were virtual events. And in fact, the company LiveX in New York, Corey Benke, who I've invited to be on this show, but he hasn't even returned my invitation yet. Corey, if you're watching, we need to have you on here. LiveX did the Democratic National Convention and used vMix as part of that. There have been other events like that, like the Academy Awards or the other TV or music-related awards that were virtual events and involved vMix at some point too. So that was nice. I've been involved with a court system in a large municipality here in the U.S. that is teaming up vMix with Microsoft Teams for the judges. So the judges that are not having court in person now will do it virtually. So all the representatives in a particular case, the attorneys will all be present virtually through Microsoft Teams in this case, and the government has I think a legal obligation in this case to make the proceedings public. And so in order to make them public, they've said we're going to send them to I think they send them to YouTube, might be Facebook. But at one point, Microsoft Teams didn't have the ability to do a live stream like that. So vMix kind of became the interim, and so it could take the stream from Microsoft Teams and include the judge's part of it, because they would actually be running on the judge's computer, and then the judge would live stream it out to whatever the destination was. And so there are lots of ways that's happening right now, as well as other things that happen in municipalities and small and large governments, where the things need to be in the sunshine, as it were, that is out in the public. Now here in our little town of Fairhope, Alabama, the city council meetings have been live streamed for the longest time, with 2 or 3 or 4 people watching. Well, now, of course, you can imagine that number has increased multiple times. And I think, post-COVID, we will still find people that will say, I already know how to live stream it. I already know how to watch it. It's not something I need to do. I can't make it tonight, so or I don't want to speak, or I don't want somebody to see me there, so I'll watch. And I think we'll see a much greater long-term effect of live streaming because of the COVID in that government. Certainly, I've got 2 more ideas for you, and then we'll go to the post show, and I'll address your comments and your. Somebody's comment. See, here I am reading the comments. I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm not chewing gum, am I? My audio is on, isn't it? Obviously, churches have been tremendously impacted. In some areas of the country, you still can't gather in a church, and so folks are finding all different ways to do a virtual live service by combining lots of different videos together and putting it together like it was a virtual service, or by using limited staff, in the church building proper to live stream what would otherwise be a regular Sunday or Saturday service. And then there are other churches like our church where we social distance. We have the movable chairs, and they're a good deal, at least 6 feet apart, probably more than that in some cases. And people keep their distance, and that's kind of the rule of the road. But we are there in person. Our church is not large, maybe average Sunday attendance of 35. And while we were shut down completely, and it was just the pastor and the worship minister and a couple others like me doing the live stream, we were getting 35 people watching, or 35 computers connected, which obviously meant probably more than 35 people. But now as we open back up and we have 35 folks in attendance, we're still getting a dozen that are watching on the live stream. And then, of course, by the end of Sunday, the total number on the live stream is probably up to 30 or 40 or 50, depending on what the pastor said, because people will go back and watch parts of the sermon again. Oh, and Tommy, don't let me forget, I need to give you kudos for something in just a second. And so I think long term, live stream is going to be really important for churches with that, kind of that 1-2 punch, live versus folks that can't be there. And now we've convinced everybody that live streaming is important. Easily half of the systems that we're working with right now that we're building and consulting on are going to churches, because they need to do it because they've never done it. So they're starting with sort of a starter system. Or they've got an older analog system that they've used in the past, and they were kind of still nursing along, and now it's time to do something at a better level. So we get that. The last category, and I think it is not something that's been touched on, and so I want to explore it a little bit. And I want to give a shout out to Paul Richards and Tess Protesto, the stream geeks at PTZ Optics, for kind of introducing this. I had had the same idea for the longest time, but they actually went out in their community and did it. And they went to a local store, a local retailer. It was a boutique of some kind. And they essentially did, which was a kind of an impromptu QVC show. It was live. People could type in questions as part of that. They could certainly order online. But this was a bricks and mortar store. This was a store that didn't necessarily have a large digital footprint. It was the creation of one or two people in a small town. I think live streaming can provide a boost for a lot of these folks who have been struggling to keep their businesses alive, especially retail. And especially, I'm thinking kind of mom and pop retail, specialty retail, as it were. Here in our little town, we're kind of a weird tourist destination. And so we have a lot of specialty shops. There's a wonderful toy store downtown. There's a wonderful hardware store downtown, a wonderful pharmacy store downtown. Kind of those stores that you don't see anymore in the super malls. And, obviously they suffered a great deal, gift shops and dress shops and restaurants. And, well, you can't do it with a restaurant because you can't do virtual food. But to be able to go into them and say, hey, look, we can help you. We can help you stay alive. You've got customers there. They just don't feel comfortable coming down into the store. And stores that have kind of minded their P's and Q's over the years have found a way to stay in touch with their customers. They've done email, they've done mass mail, they've sent out catalogs. They know who a lot of their clientele are, and so they can, and hopefully they've made good use of things like Instagram and Facebook to have a following. Well, there you go. It is so easy to live stream. I mean, we're live streaming right now to a Facebook group, the Streaming Idiots group, 4,000 people all across the world. Really, I think it's less than 4 because some of them are still around, but they don't really participate. But the idea is that you can make use of the tools that the business already has and just add a live stream to it. If they could, if all it was a camera and a microphone and the ability to live stream, and they walked around their store and said, "Hey, look, we've got this, and this is how much it is, and this is what it does, and we've got this." And try this on. Doesn't that look nice? They're going to sell stuff. They're going to stay afloat, stay alive. So if you're from a small business and you're wondering how to do this right now, call me. Eastern Shore Broadcasting. Oh, it's not down there right now. Well, the QR, the QVC code, the QR code right there will take you to our website if you can use your phone and take a picture of it. And in fact, your phone should recognize that it's a QR code and take you to our website where you can contact me. I'd be happy to explore this concept with you. And if we can't help you locally here, put you in contact with folks that can. I think it's a great way to save your business. As we wrap up, we talked about funerals and weddings and conferences and conventions and court proceedings. Oh, I skipped over a big one right there. Sports. Holy cow. Do I have to tell you about sports? Yeah, sports have been live streaming forever, but even more important now. Local government, small retail, and churches, that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of people that can benefit by live streaming right now. The next week, we are going to continue on this topic. We'll talk about where you live stream and some of the how-tos of it, and maybe bring in some examples of that. But we're gonna close out the topic right now. We're gonna close out this section of the show. If you're watching us after the fact, just because we're closing out the show, we're going into the post-show. But you can come along with us in the post-show too, because it's all one recording and you can see it. If it turns out you like what you see on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give us a thumbs down, If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'd love to have you. And of course, you're welcome to join the Streaming Idiots group in Facebook. That's a great place. There's always a conversation going pretty much 24/7 about live streaming, so we'd be glad to have you as part of that. So let's go to the post show. We'll be right back after the closing credits. Well, okay. So we're in the post show. You can tell because it says post show right there. Oh yeah, and there's the Eastern Shore Broadcasting website down there. We thought we'd throw up the vMix Social. I use vMix Social every week because I read your comments, but I thought, why haven't we done this? Well, we could do this. So my friend Tommy Willis has said, this is Tom's look. So obviously there's something more to this conversation that I've been missing. If you've got a question, though, go ahead and you have to be either in the easternshorebroadcasting.com live streaming page to see this and to have access to the chat, or you have to be on YouTube to have access to the chat. The comments on Facebook in the Streaming Idiots group, since it's a group, Facebook doesn't let us get access to the comments because of privacy restrictions. If it were a page, we could do that, but since it's a group, we can't do that. So if you're watching this now on the Streaming Idiots Facebook page, Facebook group, we appreciate your comments, but we can't post them there. So there we go. Let's see if we can go back in time and pick up some of the comments that were earlier on. So yeah, here's one of my favorite from Tim. This was at the very beginning of the show. It was the pre-show, and there were only a couple people there. So there we go. Let's see. Let's go through some of those comments. Let's go back to page 3. And this is Tim's comment about hurricanes. Yes. And we're delighted that Rich is back in Northern California. Rich does jet ski racing, as you can see from his photo there. Oh yeah, we should put a title in this thing, shouldn't we? Okay, so let's go to the title, and we'll say, instead of title, we're going to say streaming. If we could spell, we would be dangerous idiots. There we go. Okay. There we go. We got it. So this was Tim's comment to say title. Yeah, now we got it. Thank you, Tim. Living Waters is here from Chesapeake, Virginia. Glad to have you. Let's see. Let's go up to the next page. Good comment by Rich here. And we're talking to Tom Willis. Would a GoPro pastor cam be a bit tacky? I'm about to propose it to my church. My opinion on that, Rich, is that depending on the tradition of that body, of that church. If it's very formal tradition, then yeah, GoPro might be a little tacky. If it's a more contemporary tradition, it would be very acceptable. But let's say it's a traditional Episcopal Church, because I have history in the Episcopal Church. It probably would be a little bit more offensive in that environment than it would be helpful. It might be better to take that GoPro and get a wide shot, a wide angle shot, so it's not quite so up close and personal. That pastor cam. But I think it depends on the nature of the worshiping body. What they find acceptable. Of course, some folks don't think live streaming is, they think that's intrusive. Let's see. Rich says, let's see, I'm not sure if this will fit. Let's see if it'll fit. Nope, it doesn't fit. Well, we can see if we can make it fit. Let's just do the negative sign. There we go. Almost fits. Rich has done tons of hands-free funerals using their own iPhone, a mic setup, and the Larynx broadcaster, which is a SRT broadcaster. And he's produced it for home. Rich, that's a great idea. Great idea. Tommy says his church's videos are not a polished production, and I don't want that because it's more normal to show screw-ups, much like Tom's show. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Tommy. Oh, no, shout out to Tommy on the idea that we talked about, was it last week or the week before? I think it was last week, on using instant replay in churches. I almost did that this past Sunday. And I may do it on a future Sunday, which was to, basically get instant replay fired up and ready to go. And during the course of the pastor's message, the sermon or whatever it might be called in your tradition, to, if he says or she says something really poignant, to click that, that 20-second button, or you can do a custom one, and have that clip that you can immediately export and then use during the course of either that same day or the next week to encourage people to go back and watch the sermon or the service from the previous Sunday. And you've got this little teaser clip that's already set to go. You don't have to go back and find it and figure out how to, cut and paste it into something else. It's already there. You may have to shorten it a little bit or change the in and out points somehow. But Tommy, I'm going to try that. That's a great idea. I can't wait to try it. Let's see. Tommy has done the live stream of a funeral. And that, I think, is important. And this is probably true in Alabama. Our restrictions or whatever we can get away with, because nobody is monitoring it. Okay, this must be part of the discussion. Is it me, or is the background color changing? Well, I don't know. I think it could be the salt water. And Living Waters says that you see the color changing even on my face. And it may be that I'm kind of moving in and out of the sweet spot on the camera. And so the auto white balance and the auto exposure are changing. Perhaps I should lock those down. I appreciate that comment. That's good. And it is not my normal look. I am not a chameleon, Tommy. It just doesn't do. Equinox Production says that they're doing three virtual webinars every day for the banks in South Africa. For banks, that's really interesting. And that would be, meetings that they would otherwise have had in person for some reason. Rich says that in the California they're sending their stuff to YouTube. There we go. And RJ says, don't forget about the performing arts, unless I missed this been able to provide the local symphony and other artists to reach a larger audience. Yeah, Tommy, that's great. I mean, RJ, that's great. I'm working with a musician up in New York. We just set them up with a live streaming system and a whole bunch of Bird Dog P100s for a barn, a carriage house that he is outfitting as a venue where he can invite musicians in and live stream their sound so that they can stay in touch with their audience. And he wants to make this available as a real offering to the music community in that area. So that is cool. And of course, Jan has his offering. I don't know about a virtual beer tasting and whiskey tasting. Somehow that just wouldn't get it virtually. Oh my gosh. Equinox says that in South Africa they were in total lockdown, but business is now back to normal. Glad to hear that. I suspect that what we'll find is that different parts of the world and different parts of a country will react differently and may overreact or even underreact to what they perceive is going on. I know they're concerned that there'll be another wave of virus here in the U.S. as we move into the colder weather, because flus tend to pop up in the colder weather. People are indoors more often, and if they're indoors with other people, that's when, it looks like my color is changing, doesn't it? And that's when flus and viruses like flus tend to be spread. So yeah. Let's see, Jim. Thank you so much. I'm enjoying it. Okay. So Jan says that people pick up package at the local store and then join a live stream or Zoom where the experts tell them about the content. So you do it, you just don't do it in the same place. I got it. I like that. Now, see, that's the kind of ingenuity that's going to keep people going. Equinox says that they don't do any physical events. It's all virtual. And their workload is tripled. It was a blessing, and he had to reinvent himself. That's really cool. That's really cool. Let's see what Don has to say here. Tom, thanks again for all your help. Our church stream has been doing well, and I've been able to continue it seamlessly as we now have people back in the sanctuary. Oh, that's great. I'm glad it has worked out. Very glad. Yep. Here's something else from Equinox. It doesn't look like. Oh, I see the whole comment didn't fit into the field. We've now branched out to run school fundraisers. Instead of school doing golf day, we do virtual shows. Okay. All right. That's cool. And that's cool. Yep. And that's not cool. And I was in a mask for, 20 minutes today, because I had to go to the dock, and that just drove me nuts. It's hard to breathe. And if you get flu, you have to stay home for 10 days. There we go. And Rich is finally catching up to where the rest of us are. Well, I'm glad we got you. Well, this has been interesting to do the comments as opposed to a whole string of them. Let's see, what was it? This is the virtual post show that we've done in the past, where you could see everybody's comment, and I could ignore some of them, but now I can't ignore them because they're all here. So Ken says he just received a Facebook notification. Oh, you know what? I may have put the wrong time in for the Facebook. I may have put in like 320 or something like that. I've done that from time to time. Let's just check. I mean, we didn't call this the streaming brilliance show. Let's find a Facebook. There we go. There's Facebook. So let's restart. Let's go back to Streaming Idiots. Yeah. Yep. I did the time wrong. My bad. My bad. So if I start this video and it looks like it's frozen on this end. Nope. It's not frozen. Yeah, I looked like I was off by an hour. Yeah, not sure why I can't get this. Oh, there we go. Now I can get it to play. There we go. So how long has it played for? Oh, it doesn't have the DVR enabled on Facebook. That's interesting. Okay. Well, that's why you got it late, because I put the wrong title in there, the wrong time in there. That was me. Yep, that was the problem. That was the problem. Well, I need to wrap up. Got to get back to work here, guys, but I've loved having you with me today, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you think I can help, give me a shout out. And look for next week when we go into a little deeper into this subject and talk about where to do some of the live streams and other ideas of ways that you can help out your community. We should have done this show before. Should have done it before. Definitely. Definitely. But we will see you later. So behave, and we will gather again shortly.